Welcome to the Voices of Otolaryngology podcast series, where we spotlight diverse perspective and insights within the field of otolaryngology. I'm your host, Rahul Shah. Let's jump into it. Well, thank you all for joining us for our Voices of Otolaryngology vodcast. VOD, video cast. It's a new word.
All right.
Do you mind introducing yourself, where we're broadcasting from, maybe why you're here?
Sure. So I'm Vikas Mehta. I'm the current coordinator for research and quality for the Academy. I'm also a head and neck surgeon up in New York at Montefiore Medical Center, Albert Einstein College of Medicine. So I came down yesterday for a planning session with the Academy staff talking about research and quality. And then today we have a guidelines task force meeting sort of talking about and planning the guidelines coming up for the next year or two.
So we're in my office here at 1650 Diagonal Road in Alexandria, Virginia. I have an open door. You just met a member, right?
Yeah.
You just dropped in to say hi.
That's right. Actually, Jason and I were Cochrane Scholars together many years ago.
Wow.
Went to Quebec City, which is a beautiful place if you've never actually been. We had a really interesting meeting there, but really beautiful city. Kind of feels like you're in Europe.
Yeah. Just for the record, I just realized your wife is an otolaryngologist. Can you tell the folks that for full disclosure? Because I was going to throw you under the bus.
Sure, yeah. So my wife and I met in training, and then now she's the head of the cochlear implant program at Mount Sinai Medical Center.
Remind me, where did you both train?
New York Pioneer Infirmary.
Wonderful place. Yeah, I interviewed there. I guess I didn't make the cut, but beautiful facility.
Yeah. Very historic. It's over 250 years old.
When did you finish training?
I finished residency in 2011.
Okay.
And then did a fellowship at Pittsburgh in head and neck oncology.
So, everybody who's watching this podcast is having the same question I am. Who is more senior, your wife or you?
My wife is more senior. And
so she was the PGY5 and you were the 4?
I was a 2. Actually.
You were a 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a little salacious, I guess.
No, I didn't. I don't pass judgment. You use that word, not me. But I did, just for full disclosure, I said, I'm really sorry. I hope you slept well in the hotel. And what did you say? You can just say it or I'll say it.
It's like sometimes hotel sleep is great because no one's bothering.
You said hotel sleep sometimes might be the best.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
Thank you very much for your service as the coordinator for research and quality. You're on year 3 of a 4-year term, or another way to look at it, you have a year left. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's been a tremendous honor and opportunity.
That's the party line, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah, no, I think that, the staff is really amazing.
Yeah.
And like many things, when you do something you're interested in, it doesn't feel like work, right? And so I think that these are topics that I'm passionate about. I think it's an important thing that we do at our academy. And so, yes, I know it's a cheesy thing to say, but when it is bring you joy, it doesn't feel like work. And that's kind of what it feels like.
Yeah, usually people loosen up in the vodcast. So 20 minutes later, when I ask you this, then you'll tell us how much work it really is. It is a tremendous work. Our coordinators and all the volunteers at the Academy. Believe it or not, we probably have about 500 volunteers. And we were talking about this, you and I, last night at dinner, right? On the otolaryngology core curriculum. How about we both thank all of those faculty? Do you want to, maybe you can thank them because I want to thank them.
Yeah, sure. So, also, and the chair of the Head and Neck Surgery Education Committee, which has been really interesting to see. When I started, we had switched over to the flex type format, kind of modernizing how we bring evidence and education products. So that was really interesting. And then now we've taken on this otolaryngology core curriculum. I think something that's really important. Our residents were really asking for it. They're modern learners. They want to learn in different formats. They want to listen to podcasts. I'm
not a modern learner. I read books.
Well,
and you do too.
I do read, but I also listen to books and I listen to podcasts.
And podcasts.
Right,
yeah.
That's right. Okay. So, we wanted to give, I think the Academy wanted to give residents that content.
We all did as a specialty.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
and huge lift, right? The faculty, oh my word.
Yeah, it really is a tremendous lift. And we're learning. I think we're learning about how to teach, right?
But I will look you all in the eye and thank you. 26 modules done in a few months. Vikas and I spent about 20 minutes last night at dinner talking about the huge lift. And if there's a way we could mitigate that lift, actually email me. for real. Our Shah at entnet.org. We talked about AI. We talked about technology. Right. We actually had a frank discussion. The only thing I can't give you is time, but perhaps we can take away some of your time away. But thank you for bringing that to our attention.
I think it was interesting. I mean, the pandemic did a lot of things. It really shook up society. I mean, everyone knows that, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things we wanted to, think about was, how did it change our practice?
Mm-hmm.
And how did it change the practice of otolaryngology? And so that's actually what inspired some of the initial data looks we did into Regent, is to say, let's just take some simple questions and see things that used to be done in the OR, how much of that has shifted to the office. So we took some Regent data, and we picked a specialty that had, we had sort of anecdotally heard that a lot of things that were being done in the OR, it sort of, the pandemic supercharged it a little bit and forced us to think as a specialty, what can we do in the office that, we have been pushing to the OR? Because frankly, it's better for our patients, it's cheaper, it's faster, and it's, it's also time efficient for us. And so, I think the pandemic, there was obviously a lot of bad things that happened. This was maybe something that was positive.
Maybe a silver lining.
Exactly right.
Yeah. Well, when we have these vodcasts, we keep them light. And I'm sorry for the background noise. My office faces the King Street Metro Station, and the airport is right near. So I apologize. But at least you all know that it's a real vodcast. When I think of the pandemic, I think of the huge success of otolaryngology, right? From anosmia, that's just one thing, all right?
Yeah.
But how do we take care of our patients, scopes, et cetera? And I know a lot of that flowed through research and quality. Yeah. So thank you for that. That's huge lift.
Yeah, thanks.
At dinner last night, and this is where we're going to be all over the place. At dinner, you mentioned you're a sports fan.
Sure.
And you invited me. Where did you invite me to?
Oh, we're going to go to the U.S. Open together. Yeah.
So can you all imagine us at the U.S. Open? There'd be like a great shot. I'll be jumping off the screen, and Vikas would just sit there. I mean, that's how it is sometimes with our head and neck surgeons. You're amazing, but so calm. Right? Could you imagine in the OR with me?
Yeah,
it'd be quite frenetic.
I would love to have been a resident trying to put a tube in.
Yeah. Hurry up. I don't want to turn this vodcast into Regent, but how about I'll just ask you one question about Regent. Where's it going? And there's a lot of misconceptions about Regent, and it's frustrating because it continues to evolve. We're not driving a Model T anymore. We're pretty close to an electric vehicle, and that's been under several people's leadership, but I don't think people understand that. I don't know if you want to address with the vodcast, what do academicians, private practitioners, all of us need to know about the future of Regent?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's a great question. It's an exciting time. Regent in its start had a lot of different things that we wanted to do, but the first priority was to handle the MIPS reporting. And that's because that's low-hanging fruit that has tremendous benefit for our membership, right?
Quality and financial.
Exactly right. And if you take a look at the numbers, our members have gained almost $100 million in benefit from Regent doing the MIPS reporting. Members that use MIPS on average get about 1.7% more in every CMS payment, right? So that's a tremendous benefit for our membership from a private practice perspective. Now, in academics, we don't often use MIPS reporting, but we have to think about now what we have, because we've done all of this legwork and we've gotten this benefit. We now, MIPS reporting is the tip of the iceberg, right? There's so much beneath that. I mean, we have data on 50 million patient encounters, 11 million unique patients, all in the outpatient setting, but that's a tremendous resource, and as people say, data is the new oil, or data is the new currency. This is a tremendous opportunity for our academy, and to own that, to utilize it to benefit our patients, to drive quality, to utilize it to benefit our members. I think we're just beginning to tap into that. And there's, it's actually the perfect time as well because of the rise of all these AI tools. Now, certainly there's a lot of danger with that, and a lot of, what I would say is responsibility that we have as a society to make sure we use that data properly, that we use it responsibly. But I would much rather have it in the hands of physicians, in the hands of our academy, than I would in insurance companies or in hospitals who they have this data too, right? So it behooves us to make sure that we have it, that we use it right, and that, I think as physicians, we have the best interests of our patients, of the populations we serve in mind, the system as a whole. So that's really, how I feel about it, and I think where we're headed.
Yeah, I don't think you need me in this vodcast, Chris. Chris Harris is running our audio visuals back there. I should just give you the questions and just sit here. Why don't you just keep going? That was incredibly eloquent. And every time I was thinking of a question, you answered it. I mean, you talked about the future with AI. You talked about governance, right? So I don't need to reiterate it. You can just play that back as the value proposition for Region. So thank you.
Yeah. No, I mean,
you keep going by the questions.
Yeah.
I'll just sit here and look pretty.
I will say, one of the things we've recently switched over to a new vendor. And that vendor, Matrix, has a lot of capabilities with artificial intelligence. And we've even seen that already. So they, asked us, the first thing they wanted to try out was audiograms. So they said, give us an example of audiograms.
Yeah, but I write them all the time.
Right, from different...
Yeah. Our audiologists hand write them. They scribble them.
Exactly right. Ours too, and they're just scanned in. So we supplied them with, 50 or 60 different PDFs of audiograms, all to identify.
That were written by hand.
Some
right.
digital, some written by hand.
All right, so you're still working on it. I can't imagine you'd figure that out.
Right, and we gave it to them.
Right.
They turned around, they fed it into their AI tool and turned it around, and it automatically read every single one of those audiograms.
How long did it take them? Like a year to do that?
No, like a couple days.
Are you kidding?
Yeah. No. It was really amazing to see this happen.
Huh.
And so that just goes into the potential, right? If you think about...
I thought it'd be, frankly, too hard for them to figure out. I mean, didn't you?
I just, I had heard that these tools were available.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And obviously they are. I mean,
right.
We use them every day.
Yeah.
For everything that we do. You can take your phone.
But when do we ever get to use them as otolaryngologists?
Right,
exactly, by God, we're actually using something that helps us.
Exactly right. And I think in medicine, we've just been behind a little bit. It's time for us to catch up.
So changing our vendors takes us to the next level.
Hopefully turbocharges that. Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah. You're here. Today's Friday, December 6th. You're at Academy headquarters, and you gave me your time bright and early in the morning. What do we have this afternoon for 6 hours?
Yeah, so we'll be talking about the upcoming guidelines.
Explain that to me. I'm a lay member.
Sure. So the Guidelines Task Force, what they do is they take suggestions from everyone. So, if you have an idea for a guideline, definitely submit it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, something that you think is a good evidence-based topic, something that we have good evidence for, even sometimes things that don't, that are controversial, those can sometimes be consensus statements. Anything that falls in that category, it's important for us as a society, right, to look at that and to do a very deep methodological dive into the literature. That's something that actually...
That seems like my forte. A deep methodological dive into the literature.
Right, that's right. With
calm and equanimity. I'm your man.
Yes, and so then, we have content experts, not just otolaryngologists, but people from other different specialties, patients, all kinds of people weigh in on these topics, and we come up with the guidelines. So it's a huge process that goes into...
Who uses a clinical practice guideline? So you showed me how we bake the pizza, but who eats it?
Right. So the pizza, everyone gets a little bit of the slice, right?
Yeah.
It's a New York style pizza.
Yeah, I love them. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not only something that our members see, but also our residents. It's important for them to understand what's the best.
Right. So otolaryngologists, who else gets a slice of that pie?
I mean, it often then distributes out to primary care practices and other societies that, and physicians that, because we're a big part of a lot of what happens across healthcare.
40% of pediatrics is otolaryngology.
Right, and a huge percentage of primary care.
Yeah. I mean, everything's head and neck. Let's be
Right.
real.
And then, then insurance companies are going to look at it, right?
Yeah.
To understand what's the best practice. Now with value-based care, these kinds of things are going to become incredibly important for us.
Yes.
And, they're often the most cited articles that
they are the most cited in our journal. Yeah.
and read and it helps
Downloaded too. Downloaded.
And it helps drive the quality of the care that we deliver across the whole healthcare continuum. So
can we stick with the New York pizza analogy? Because I'm now getting me hungry.
Yeah.
You're taking the train back tonight, so you're going to get it.
Exactly
But I'll continue the analogy. Should we be giving that pizza away for free?
Yeah, it's a great question, and
do we now? Yes, we do. They're publicly available.
We do it now, but can we revisit that? Not necessarily. I think our members.
I mean, not to our members,
and I think that it seems like the Academy will always continue to do that. Yeah. But how can we use this work that our members are putting in to help benefit the society and benefit the members themselves,
especially when it's used against us.
Right.
Exactly. You've been on the prior auth side where they'll quote a CPG which they haven't read and deny us, and then you send it back and highlight.
Exactly right. I mean, one of the things,
and that's the value of the CPGs.
Yeah, we talked about in the strategic plan yesterday was, can we supply our members with pre-written letters that have a little QR code that says, this scan is indicated for this patient.
Based on this CPG.
Yeah, here, you can access this CPG and figure it out for yourself. Right. And again, I think we're heading, AI is great, but we're also heading into some of the, not so exciting things about AI. Insurance companies are going to constantly start to lean in on that technology.
They already have. Vikas, right?
Right, exactly right. And so we need to also have some automated, easy things that we develop for our members, right? To give them that value and to advocate for our patients.
You have 2 young girls.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I forgot their 13
and 10.
Yeah, do they ever call you a bot, a BOT?
No.
They haven't?
No.
Do you know what that means?
No.
When they call you a bot? Mm-hmm. Chris, do you know what that means? No. All right, maybe my children just call me that. It's like when you're an automatron, you're not just thinking, right? You're just like answering something in a rote manner.
Sure.
And, I disparagingly think of some of those deny letters as bots, right? They're just sending it out to us and saying,
absolutely.
Right. And
it's their business model, right? They're
unfortunately to harass us and not pay us for care, but we can counter it with our own bots.
That's right.
And I love what you said, a QR code or how do we advocate? One society actually owns the IP on their CPGs, okay? Mm-hmm. Owns an intellectual property on the clinical practice guidelines and charges insurers and others for access to them.
Yeah.
Like, why are we creating materials to use against us? All right, anyways, enough of that.
Sure.
Are you excited for the Guidelines Task Force are you going to film me for 6 hours watching how I behave? That should be its own podcast.
I think it could be, yeah.
A teaser of anything exciting coming up today. I think we have, you're going to be looking at 3 potential CPGs and 3 potential expert consensus statements. Right. And I don't want to mention them in case we don't move forward with them, but this isn't easy stuff. This isn't tying your shoes. Some of the CPGs are building a car. I mean, kudos to you for taking on the big, hairy, audacious goals.
Well, it's a village, right? For sure. The Academy staff does a tremendous job.
Of course, yeah.
Looking into the literature, right? What we see in the CPG, they've built the foundation of the house, the whole bottom part that we don't necessarily see all the time. So, and then, obviously the content experts, all the methodologists, it's a huge lift. Because it has to be excellent and it has to be very evidence-based.
Do you know how somebody gets called a methodologist?
No.
I don't either, do you?
Yeah. Yes, it takes
I don't know, can you tell our members?
It takes years of training. They have to sit through multiple of these CPGs. They have to participate.
So I've been to like 4. Can I be a methodologist or there's a little bit more to it?
I think there's a little bit more to it.
Okay. There's probably a patience test.
Maybe.
Yeah. But it's super important. I believe we have 5 of them with us today.
Yeah.
And thankful for how carefully and assiduously they go through the studies, right?
Right.
I mean, a wrong CPG could really hurt patients.
That's right. And hurt us, right?
Yeah. I was trying to make it patient-centered, but absolutely hurt us. You're ahead, and we'll wrap up because I know you have to head upstairs to lead or work with Dr. Tunkel and Dr. McKenna.
Sure.
You have a year. You have a year to go. You're going to coast. It's going to be easier, lame duck year. What do you want to achieve this year? How can I help you?
No, I mean,
and how can our members help you?
I think it's a really exciting time, like we talked about, with some of the new things that are coming with the data. What I'd love to see is the data integrate more with everything that the Academy is doing.
Okay, go with that.
So I think we need to understand the CPGs and their impact, right?
Okay.
We put out these guidelines. Yeah. Does that change practice?
Yes. There's some papers right here, folks, for residents that are paying attention, right? We can mine that easy with Region.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then, I think the other thing is that a lot of the evidence that we develop, right, a lot of the studies that we put out are done in academic centers. And there's a thing in research that I'm sure many of you are aware of, but not everyone is, something called external validity, right?
Mm-hmm.
I study this population.
Mm-hmm.
I say, this is how, we do it here in the Bronx. Does that apply to what happens in Nebraska?
Of course, New York applies to the whole world.
Exactly, right.
Come on.
I know, there's New York.
Come on, then the rest of us just exist.
California somewhere, right?
We exist to serve New York.
But, I think that 80% of otolaryngology care is practiced in the private practice.
Absolutely,
yes.
Yes.
We need to understand what's happening there. This is our
the generalizability.
This is our chance. Yeah. And so many of clinical trials have only been done in very select populations. So, looking and saying, okay, this drug was very successful in, 60-year-old, wealthy.
That's right.
Asian,
That's right.
But does it apply to
excellent point
people?
And that's where Region will help us.
Exactly right.
Because we have a sample size of 50 million.
Exactly right. And so then, utilizing the data to understand those things is going to be hugely important. And that's the opportunity we have.
2 more things, and I promise we'll be done. You've got to run up. Do you know Christina Baldessari?
I do.
She's our president of the BOG leader. Yeah,
absolutely.
She was a fellow that I got to work with at Children's National, and she gave me a great quote, and you'll love this because I had an extra. You ready for this one?
Yeah.
We were talking about research, and she said, Rahul, some people like to write quality papers, and some people like to write quantity. That's where you and I differ.
Which one were you?
Quantity. No. All of her manuscripts are superb, but it made me think about what you're talking about. Yeah. That using the data, integrating into all of our work product. That's what you're getting at, right?
Yeah, I think that this is the opportunity that we have with this.
Yeah. Like a head and neck surgeon, you're worried that I'm just going to blow any moment, right? You're going to touch the vessel. So you ready for the last question?
Sure.
All right. You mentioned U.S. Open. You mentioned tennis. Favorite player?
Ooh, I mean...
No. Favorite player?
Favorite player has to be Federer.
Federer. On the women's side?
On the women's side, yeah, it's hard to say. I would say Osaka.
Yeah.
I saw her play.
Wow.
And her explosiveness is
really
incredible.
Wow.
Yes.
And what an athlete and her story and wellness.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? I mean, I think we can all take a little bit from that. So the final goofy thing we do is we have a shakeout. So we thank you for being here. We pound it out. Right. And what do you do in New York? How do you say later in New York? What's the gesture? In West Texas, they do this.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, and somewhere they do hook 'em. But how do y'all do it in New York?
New York?
You don't say goodbye. You just get up and leave?
Yeah, I think it's
all right, fine. Thank you.
All right.
Have a good day.